Hello viewers, tutorial 7 question 6. State the equations of the graphs below. So the first one we have is a straight line which has a y-intercept of 9 and an x-intercept of 4.5. Straight line means it has the form y equals mx plus c or y equals k times x minus a, where the value of a is your x-intercept, which is 4.5. So y equals k times that. And now we can use our other point, which is when x equals 0, y equals 9. So we get 9 equals k times x is 0 minus 4.5. So 9 equals k times this whole bracket has a value of negative 4.5. And we can divide both sides by that to get k equals 9 over negative 4.5, which gives us negative 2. And therefore, if we substitute negative 2 back into that line, we get negative 2 times x minus 4.5. And expanding that out, we get negative 2x plus 9. Okay, so that's the equation of that graph. Now we have here a cubic equation. This is not repeating, it doesn't have repeated cycles. We can see that because at the bottom here it turns around, but at the bottom here it keeps on going. So it is not a sine or a cosine graph, it is a cubic, and a cubic has the form y equals k times x minus a times x minus b times x minus c, where a, b and c are your three x-intercepts, which are in this case negative 6, negative 1 and 10. So x minus a is going to be x minus negative 6, which is x plus 6. X minus b is x minus negative 1, which is x plus 1. And x minus c is x minus 10. Now we have one other point that the graph goes through, which is our y-intercept, which is 180. So when x equals 0, y equals 180. So we have 180 equals k times x is 0, x is 0, x is 0. So therefore 180 equals k times 6 times 1 times minus 10 is negative 60. So therefore k equals 180 divided by negative 60, which is negative 3. So we've got our value of k. Now we can substitute that back into this line, so we get negative 3 times x plus 6 times x plus 1 times x minus 10. Okay, so the third graph that we have here, question C, is that graph which is an exponential growth curve, goes through the point 0, 2 and 2, 200. So what's the form of an exponential growth? That is y equals a e to the kx. And we have 2 points that it goes through. So when x equals 0, y equals 2. So that tells us if we substitute that into a e to the kx, we get 2 equals a e to the k times 0, which is just going to be 0. So 0k is 0. But e to the 0 is 1, so this is just going to be a. So we have that a is 2. So therefore, we already know that y equals 2 e to the kx is what our graph is going to look like. Okay, so now we need to use the other point, which is when x equals 2, and then y equals 200 from this other point. X equals 2, y equals 200. So if we substitute that in, 200 equals 2 e to the 2k, because x is 2, so k times x becomes k times 2, which is 2k. Now we can divide this 2 out. So if we do that, we get 100 equals e to the 2k. And then from there we can take the natural log of both sides, and if we If we do that, we're going to get ln of 100 equals ln of e to the 2k, which is just going to be 2k, and therefore k is going to be ln of 100 divided by 2, which gives us a value of 2.303. So therefore, the equation here is y equals 2e to the 2.303x. Okay, so we've got the equation of that graph, and C, we have a graph that has, here we had your asymptote was your x-axis, your horizontal axis, that's the line it never crossed, but here it is the vertical axis that it never crosses. That makes it a log graph, so it has the form a times ln of bx. And we have 2 points that it goes through. It goes through the point 1/8 and 0, and it goes through the point 2, 3. So let's use the point 1/8 and 0. So when x equals 1/8, y equals 0, substitute that into a ln of bx, we get 0 equals a ln of b, we don't know yet, times x, which is 1/8. So it's going to be 1/8 is your x times b. So we need to find a and b is the job here. We'll find b first, because if we just divide both sides of this equation by a, that will give us 0 divided by a, which is 0. So we get 0 equals ln of b over 8. And we can get rid of the ln by taking e to the power of both sides. So we get e to the 0, which is 1. E to the 0 is 1. So we've taken e to this side. Need to take e to the power of this side as well. E and ln will cancel, which will just give us b over 8. So 1 equals b over 8 tells us that b must be 8. So b equals 8. And so far we have y equals a times ln of 8x. Now we can use our other point, which is when x equals 2, y equals 3, so 3 equals a ln of 8 times x, 8 times 2, which is a ln of that bracket, 8 times 2 is 16. So therefore we get a equals 3 divided by ln of 16, which gives us a value of, what does that give us? 1.082. Okay, so your equation here is y equals 1.082 ln of 8x is the equation of this graph. Okay, thanks for watching. Over and out.